Hello, my name is Anastasis and I'd like to welcome you to the 4th season of the Painting Delight Show. In this show I'm going to show you a fantastic method of oil painting we call wet on wet. But what is wet on wet? It's a method of painting where we put several layers of oil paint on top of each other without them mixing together. So if you have painted with me before, I would like to thank you very much for your support over the last 2 years, and I really hope you get to enjoy this 4th season. So what I have done in here already is that I have a black canvas, and we make these canvases with black gesso. Black gesso is a water-based paint, and I spread this paint on canvas using just a regular sponge and allow that to dry completely. This actually works like a barrier between the fabric and the oil paint, so we can last with wet oil paint in here for longer. Now, above of that I have applied some Indian yellow here in the center, and the rest is covered with sap green. As you know, we use very firm oil paints, and the only thing we need is just a dozen of colors. In here I have a very limited palette, and the other thing that is very important for this technique to work is to have natural bristle brushes. So today I decided to make a very nice scene deep in the woods with lots of yellows and greens. So let's see what we're gonna have now. Let's start with the 2-inch brush and get some titanium white in here. Just some titanium white on the 2-inch brush. And it's very important to know that your brushes are dry. Let's take some cadmium yellow to that. I want a very nice sparkle light in here in my forest. So we load both sides of the brush full of paint, and as you can see there is a lot of paint in here. And we both load these sides here, and let's start with a light source. You know, in the landscape we always work from a background and just work towards the one who sees the painting. Okay, so let's start with a light, and let's come up here, and just by making crisscross strokes like that, let's see what we're gonna get in this one. And by the time we have wet paint here on the canvas, it's very nice because we're getting all these different effects. As you can see, we're heading from the light towards the dark. And the only thing we're doing is letting the brush do the work and the colors work together. I mean, from the yellow with the white, we go outside to the green. It's so easy to have a very nice starting point here. Another thing you're gonna need for this technique is a very strong easel, because we're using a lot of pressure in here, and we just don't want the canvas to fall over while we're painting. And I can guarantee that in my first 100 paintings I had that a lot. So I just invested in a very strong easel like that. Now that we have a very basic shape of the light, let's take a clean and dry 2-inch brush and let's do some more blending. Always starting from the lighter source and just work outwards. And now our colors are getting softer and softer the more they blend. And we'll never take a dirty brush and work again from the center. What I suggest is that you clean your brush or take a clean one and do the same thing as many times as you want. Now, if you want the light source a bit stronger, just use a clean brush and just take the same colors and repeat the process as many times as you want. But always finish this process with a clean brush and soften the whole area, okay? Okay, now very lightly just go across and remove any brush strokes that you might be having. Just very lightly. And in here we don't want a lot of pressure. Just big crisscross strokes, and now some straight ones to remove the brush marks. I will have a very nice light source in here. Okay. Now let's see. Let's take a big brush today. We're gonna use them a lot, so I'm gonna take some Van Dyke brown here and some dark sienna, mix them together, and as you can see I have some green left over. This is the sap green that I'm having from the start that I covered the whole area with. Let's take some white too. Just brighten this color a little bit. There is also some cadmium yellow in here. And what we do here is that we want to make some faraway trees. So what we're gonna do is take the big brush and just just tap and push, so we can gather a lot of paint on the edge of the bristles. Let's take some more green. You can also take some of the yellow ochre, just play with your colors, experiment a little bit, and by the time we're brush mixing those, we're getting lots of variations in here. And let's take some blue too. This is Prussian blue. Okay, we have kind of grayish green color here, so we just tap and let's decide where we want a little forest to be back here. Just use a corner of the brush and just make some basic tree shapes here. Very, very basic tree shapes though. Just take your 2-inch brush and enjoy it a little bit. And as you can see, this is a light source, so we want more light from this side of the trees compared to the other. And some more paint. Always use the same way to load your brush. Just use the corner here. Some more trees. And you can have as many trees as you want in this world. Now in here, something's happened instantly. I mean that in here we have a lot of light paint, and by the time we're gathering the dark paint in here, these two will just stick to each other and have a very nice effect, because that means there is a lot of light coming in here. And let's add some more paint. Just use the corner of the brush. And you can use whatever brush you want for that. I just decided today that I want a big 2-inch brush here. And we use just some regular pressure here. Okay. Now let's have some tree trunks back here. And I'm gonna take a liner brush. This is a number 2 liner brush. And I'm gonna go into some dark sienna with some paint thinner. I use paint thinner to thin my paint and clean my brushes, but if you want, you can use linseed oil or liquid clear if you want to thin your paint down. And then there are several methods of cleaning your brush, but we will talk to them in another video. So what I'm doing is just use the point of the brush and just make some basic tree trunks back in here. And you need a very thin paint for that, because the golden rule here is that a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. But just don't add a lot of detail yet, because we are still in the background. Just some basic shapes. And in here too. And very quickly we have a very nice background to play with. Okay. Now let's add a very little highlight here, so we make them stand out. So I'm going to go into my cadmium yellow here, and I'm going to use some liquid white to thin down my paint and make it still stick easier. So I'm going to use the same technique as earlier and just grab a little bit of color here, play through the yellows and the greens, and we just push. Just load both sides and then tap and push the brush in the paint. And we have a very nice ridge of paint that is also on the edge of the brush. Okay, so let's come up here and just decide where we want our highlights to be, but not too many yet. Just use the corner of the brush for that. And if you have problem making your paint stick, just thin it down a little bit. Just a little bit of highlight here. Not too much. And the further away we go from the light source, the darker our highlight's gonna be. And you always have to remember where light strikes. And as we go downwards, we just achieve this nice effect that you've seen here. Less and less light there. Not too much here. And play through the color, just vary your colors a little bit so it's not boring, you know. And we're just using the edge of the 1X brush here. You can use the twins brush if you want to, but let's do things differently here. Okay. And we can have some small bushes down here. I'm gonna add some paint thinner to my color now to thin down a little bit. And you need to add a little paint on your brush to make this work. Let's have another bush somewhere right here. Okay. And do the same thing in here too. Okay. I'll tell you what, I want to have several layers in here because this adds interest to our painting and adds a lot of depth. So we're gonna layer another layer of big trees here. So let's take the same color that we had earlier, just a little bit darker. So this is Van Dyke Brown, some dark sienna, and some green. Just a little bit white, just a little bit. Not too much now. Just a little. And just play through your colors once again. And let's have another layer just in here. And it doesn't matter if you cover some of your background trees because they're here. And it's up to you to decide the shape and the size of those. So I just want to save some of the background trees, so there are several layers here. And just in here I can work on top of those bushes. So when the painting is finished we can see the different layers of trees and bushes in here. And we achieve all this by having a very firm paint here. It's probably one of the most basic things and one of the most frequent problems we run into. You don't need a traditional oil paint to do that, we just need a very, very firm paint to do that. Just another layer here. And let's go up here and have a big old tree. And we're gonna cover these two. But still you can see something in the background. Not everything of these are dead, we're just having different layers here. And once again we're gonna repeat the process. And this is also good practice. And once again paint thinner. And you can also start your tree trunk by the top, so you just do this movement this time, or you can start from the bottom and work on top. And this is a nice tree here. And we always like giving character to our tree trunks, so don't make them all straight. Just add some tree trunks to those. And this is a very good way of separating your layers too. Now you have some basic ideas where your trees are without confusing them with the ones in the background. Lots of paint thinner here. And let's have another tree trunk right here. Okay. Now I'm going to return to my 1X brush and I'm going to take some paint thinner and just some of the same color. Just make it a little bit darker because as we move towards the foreground the colors are darker and more distinct, and use a lot of paint for that. Just push like that. And let's come up here. Just like so. Just add some highlights here and there. And this tree here wants his own leaves too. Some more paint thinner. And I'm going to take some yellow ochre, some more soft green. And always remember where your light source is. That means that these trees are going to have more highlights from the right and these ones from the left. Just always have that in mind. Some more yellow. And let's come to this one. And it's always wise to leave some gaps in between each layer of leaves. And that way we save depth and our trees don't look flat. And always remember that we want them dark on the bottom and lighter on top, so they look more natural. And have a couple of more bushes here. It's very important to give yourself time to practice when using this method of painting, because I believe this is probably the easiest method of oil painting, although I have no previous experience. And you just need the right equipment. Just add some bushes here, let them play. Just like that. Some more color. Just like that. Okay, now I want to have a path in this painting. I want a big path that in here is going to be very small and getting bigger and bigger as we move towards the foreground, because this will give us tremendous depth. But as we're working in layers, let's see what we want somewhere in the middle of the painting. So I'm going to take my knife with this one, and let's clean this huge mess that dark sienna with the paint thinner made on our palette, because we don't want a thin paint there in the middle of the painting, otherwise our colors are going to mix and going to have a huge mess. So let's take some straight Van Dyke brown for this one, pull it out very flat. And the reason we do that is because we want a nice even distribution of paint on the palette, and we want to achieve the same on the knife. So let's come in here and just take and do this movement, and we have a very nice fine roll of paint on the edge of the knife. And this is how we always load the knife, and we want to make everything happen here. So let's make a huge rock, and we're gonna have some big trees up there. So let's decide where our rock is. It's like building a huge mountain, actually a small mountain in here. So if you have painted mountains again in this technique, you know how to do that. Just add a lot of pressure and a lot of movement in this one, just blocking some color here. Just very easy and quick to do. And we're gonna add some more paint here on the top. Just like that. And we don't worry about any details for the time being. Some more paint. Let's have another big rock here. Okay. And now we're gonna highlight those. And we're gonna take just a little bit of titanium white and some dark sienna. And what we do here is just leave the paint marbled. We don't want to over mix that, okay? So just cut off another roll of paint like before. And go in here and always remember where our light source is, and just caress the canvas. Just like so. Don't add any pressure at all. Just some very delicate movement here. Just like that. We want to make some realistic rocks here. And we want to make these all bumps and stuff in here, and that's achieved because of the amount of pressure that we apply here. And because the colors, the paints are very firm, they won't make just have a very nice effect like the one we have in here. And we can return to some blue and a little bit of Van Dyke brown and take the small edge of the knife and just add some shadows back here, make our rocks more interesting. And it's exactly like painting a mountain. Okay, so let's have something on top of these rocks here. Let's have some big trees. So the right way to paint trees like that, because we're gonna add some more details on the trunks, is to just make the shadow of the tree first like we did before. Then we add the tree trunk and then we highlight the whole thing. So let's take the twist brush, and this time I'm gonna add no white to that. So I'm gonna take some browns and some of the phthalo blue, I'm sorry, it's Prussian blue, and some soft green and top here. So let's have big leafy trees in here, and although we're gonna cover the ones in the background, as I said earlier, we know they're there. Make huge trees. They're probably leaning over here. And still you can see the trees that are in the background. So let's have another one. Let's have another one, probably in here. Some more paint. Just brush and mix those. And like that we have some nice huge trees to play here, and we don't mind if some of our brush strokes end on top of these rocks, because it's only natural for the leaves to just climb wherever they are, and we're gonna put highlights on top and it will just look like the leaves are resting on top of those stones. Okay, now I'll tell you something. Let's work a little bit on the other side too. We have this dirty brush here. Take some more paint and load your brush the same way. Let's have a huge tree in here. And by this we're gonna save some of this area here to make the path that we want to have later on. So let's start, let's see that it's further away, so let's start in here. And let's lean over here once again. Just like that. We're gonna have a nice big leafy tree here. And we never allow our brush to slide. It's very, very important to tap. Now let's block in some paint like so, and as you can see we have so many nice leaf indications already. Okay. Just like so. Now let's get serious. Let's take our fan brush. I have a number 3 fan brush here. And let's take some dark sienna and some Van Dyke brown here. Load both sides full of paint. And let's give these trees some trunks so they don't fall over in the forest. And we start from the top and work downwards the bottom, and always put more pressure as we work downwards, so we have this nice tree trunk here, and the same to this tree too. you something? There might be trees here that are just standing over, but we're gonna paint these later, because while we're painting, we're seeing different things all the time, and let our imagination work for us. So in order to put more trees on top of those, we just have to finish them first. I mean, by adding the highlights and all these, and then we add another layer. As you can see, we have several layers already, 1, 2, 3 in here, and we know we're there, okay? So let's go to this side to make a huge trunk in here. A huge tree that's probably going outside the painting like that, and give it an arm. And maybe another one. And always remember that we want a lot of paint on this brush today. And some more limbs here. Just like that. Okay? Now we're gonna take the same color and add some paint thinner. Actually a lot of paint thinner, so the paint sticks easier on top of all those layers. And add our sticks and twigs in here, our limbs. And just add some more interest to our trees here. And as we're moving forward, we want more detailed trees in here, so don't be afraid to add all kinds of little things here that will make your tree look much more realistic. And also size is very important. I mean, things are getting bigger as we're working forward to a painting. Okay, let's go to the other tree too. And you can spend a lot of time in here adding all kinds of stuff. And let's take and make another lamp here for this tree. Okay, some more paint here. And let's add some more sticks in here. Just like that. Now we want some highlights on those. And for that I'm gonna use the same color as we used on the rocks. And let's just touch. Just touch like that. And by remembering where our light source is, we really worry about nothing here, just let things happen. Just touch, touch, touch. Just like so. And do the same to the other trees too. And as I've said in a previous season, this is probably one of my favorite ways to see how to highlight a tree trunk. I find it very relaxing and very enjoyable, but if you want to see something different regarding to our technique, just feel free to write down a comment. Now from this side we want highlights on the other side of the tree, and I hope you can actually see that. And now even our tree trunk here is roundish, we can still do that with the flat edge of the knife. Just reverse your knife a little bit. Or something else you can do is just take your knife and just load it the other way. And I have a little roll of paint back here, and just use this side if you can't twist your arm like that. Both ways are just fine. Just like so. Okay. So there are numerous ways to do the same thing in this technique. Everything is so free and so relaxing, so beautiful. You don't have to worry about getting a mistake or something and you don't know how to fix it and get stressed about it. We just let things happen. For instance, in the background, if we didn't like our trees at all, we could just scrape them off or cover them. It's so easy to fix something you don't like. Now let's have something in here. Now for instance, I had a little bit of paint that slipped away in here, so what I'm gonna do is just scrape this off and take the very corner of the brush here that I have, and by gently tapping I can remove the brush mark that easily, the knife mark, I'm sorry. So let's highlight those, but for that I'm gonna use the big brush. Okay. Instead of the ones brush, I'm going to use the twins brush now to show you that you can do things with both brushes, okay? So play through your colors again, just a little bit of paint thinner now. And just tap. Depends on what we want to do. We can cover bigger areas with the twins brush here. So let's start with this big tree here. And as you can see, everything happening here is just fantastic. You know, it always blows me away that I can paint like that. And although I think I'm not very good at that, it always makes me feel nice and gives me a feeling that I can improve and feel better, you know. Because I have done over probably 300 paintings now, and I had a look at my very old ones the other day, and I could see the huge improvement in my techniques. But I think the thing that actually helped me the most was that I found the right equipment, because in the very start I had a very bad easel, as I told you, and some canvases that weren't working right for me. So you have to work that before you get upset with this technique. And here I'm just leaving some gaps in between the leaves to add some interest, and let's add some more paint here, some Indian yellow, some sap green. And if you want, you can keep working with the ones brush, but I just wanted the twins brush now. Let's go to this big tree here, just use the corner of the brush, just like so, and by the time we have a thin paint, we can just tap on top of this tree trunk that has actually a build-up of paint and the colors won't mix. Just be very gentle and don't add a lot of pressure, just let the brush do the work for you. Okay, and some more highlighting here. And just do the same thing on the other tree too. I believe that this brush just does fantastic things, and I always prefer big brushes to smaller ones to paint actually anything, because I think the effects are much more beautiful and it's so much fun. That's what it's all about, you know. So in here we have a lot of dark, so I'm gonna leave the tree a little bit more dark. And you know, something else that is very important in this painting is, because we stand very close to the easel, is to step back and see what we have. So let's step back now that we are in the middle of the painting, okay? And yeah, I think we're having a very good outcome already. So let's do something else. As I promised, I'm gonna make another layer here of some big tree trunks, maybe with not all these leaves on top. So let's take some dark color and just go in here like that, and probably add another tree in here, a smaller one or something, and maybe another one in here. Okay, and once again our tree trunks need some limbs, so the right way to load your liner brush to make the limbs is just take a lot of paint thinner and just twist your brush on the paint and just pull. And we're having a very nice sharp point in here. I hope you can see it. So this is what we're using to paint with, okay? Let's come up here and add our limbs. You know, the word I'm always forgetting and I'm using the word limbs is branch, okay? Just pardon me for my bad English. Because I'm actually Greek, in case you're wondering where I'm from. And let's just add those little things on top and some more highlights. But before that, let's highlight the trunks too. We have some leftover paint here and just very little pressure here. Some more paint. Always remember to not overmix your paints in here, because we want just a variation of color in here. Because if you actually sit back and see how the tree trunks are in real life, because I do that all the time, you can see lots of different variations on the tree trunk. There is brown, there is white, there is red, or even black sometimes. And you know, I kind of have lots of such trees where I live. That's why probably I'm very fond of doing that way of highlighting the bark here. Let's have some sticks and twigs around here that are just lonely. They're playing around here. Just touch with your knife. And I'm gonna return to my big brush now. And let's add some highlights here. Not too much. Okay. Now we want some bushes here and on top of my rocks. So let's just thin the paint a little bit so it sticks easier, and just paint some bushes on the rocks and some leaves that are falling over and resting, as I told you earlier. Just like that. Isn't that something? Okay. Now probably the path is coming back from this way, so okay, let's see. Let's have our path now. Gonna use the same dirty fan brush that I used to paint the tree trunks with, and let's start back here. And yet we are not committed to this path. And just give it a little bit of angle in here and make it look bigger and bigger as we're coming forward. Just like that. Some more paint and just do this here. Make it bigger and bigger. Load your brush as necessary. And as you can see, we started with very small movements, and as we went forward we just made them bigger, so we win some of our depth in our painting. Okay, just like so. Just like that, okay? So we have a very basic guideline here. Now I want to have some bushes there in the background, and I'm gonna use the same brush. You know, I just love the twins brush for that. And let's have some big bushes in here. And you can use both sides, of course, for that. Just like so. And probably there are some bushes in this area too, back here, that are covering the path. And just take some more paint. And you know, we also have paint on the canvas. We have sap green, so it actually gives us a very nice feeling of green and yellow mixing together. It's just something so nice to do. That's why I love painting on black canvases because things happen in their own way, okay? So let's just paint some grass in here, but before that let's have some highlights. I'm gonna take my dirty brush and go into some white and just, you know, maybe add a little bit of dark sienna to that too. And let's just highlight our path here, just very, very gently. Now we know where our path is, and you know, it's very important to make those strokes straight. This is probably something I'm having huge difficulties with, but then again, it's always nice to learn from your mistakes and try to overcome the difficulties. That's why I've made this channel in the first place. I just want to let people know that no matter how many times you fail, you can always do better and bring some encouragement in your lives. Because I have noticed that a lot of people that are painting are having some serious issues in their daily life, and probably painting is one of the things that make them overcome those problems and just feel better, you know? So I really hope this show helps you with that too. Just make this path softer. I like those very nice variations here, and when this dries it's gonna look so nice, almost like a silk or something. So let's return to our big brush and just paint some grass here, okay? Just be very, very gentle with that. And here's where the sap green comes in handy, as we said earlier. And add so many different layers and layers of grass in this painting. Just tap. Now I want to have a big bush in here, so let's just save this area. And let's come to the other side too, you know, I want to have some bushes probably just in front of these rocks to add some more interest, so let's just paint some of those. And maybe they come in front of these big rocks that we painted, just like so. And give them some proper form or something. And in here we just have our soft grassy areas. And in here we're not gonna use thinner to our paint because we don't have lots of underneath paint, so our paint will already stick much easier compared to earlier that we have this huge amount of paint on canvas before. So let's come here in the path and put some grassy areas in here, just like that. And this is where we design the lay of the land too. And we don't want our grass to be flat, so we always leave some small gaps in between. Okay, so let's close this here and have a small bush down here. And also let's have some sticks back in here. We just take a clean knife and we let the black show through here, and it will look like some small sticks and twigs back in here, and we'll do the same in that too. And you know, I liked earlier that we did those random sticks or something, so let's take the same color. This is just dark cyan and white, and let's make some more. Just like that, they add so much interest to painting. And we have so many layers. Now, once again, if we step back, we're gonna see lots of different layers and variations and all the interest we have in one painting that we have done very, very quickly. So let's see once again. You know, I'm very satisfied here with the outcome, and as we're closing in to the end, let's take the one brush that we had earlier and add a lot of paint. We're gonna just take some paint thinner and some cadmium yellow. And now, if you have painted with me before, you know that I like doing bushes with a rounded corner of a 1-inch brush. So let's come in here and load our brush full of paint, just pull the paint like that. Hope you can see that. And now we end up with a rounded corner in here in our brush, okay? And I want something big in here, so let's just make a huge bush. And this happens just by tapping upward with not a lot of pressure. Just touch and make a huge bush like that. And if you want to make some more interest, just make it a little bit bigger or something. And we can have a small one too if you want. Just like that. And we have just reached the end of the first episode of the fourth season. And this season is mostly inspired by photographs I found on Pinterest. And I had decided that I wanted to paint something probably not, I wouldn't say more realistic, but something that people would love to see more compared to the things that we have done in the past. So we're gonna do different techniques and different landscapes compared to the other seasons, but we never suppress our imagination because we can add lots of different things in our world that will make us happy. So I would like to thank you very much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Until next week, happy painting and take care. Thank you very much.